And this is how I put the tracks back on. I take a little J hook like this, a nut, put that stainless steel wire on there, do the same thing on the other end. Now first off, I don't have this nut there, so it's lower, and it just barely clears the top here. And that's a long ways, but if you tighten that, it's stainless steel, if you tighten that up enough, this wire, I mean, it will sit just within a 1/16 of an inch the whole route. And just imagine the wire being, because of the nuts aren't there, you could see how it's real easy to see if this is on this side or on this side, one way or the other. So I can, and if you roll logs onto the mill, sometimes it might hang up on something, or if you push them up onto the mill, especially if you're pushing on those, ramps like a lot of us use, you're actually pushing the mill this way. You're rolling the log up, but part of your force is trying to push this way. So you might kind of bow this thing out. Not much, but it doesn't take much to affect those rollers on the saw head. Like I was saying the other day, if your sawmill, say, is only 4 foot long, it can't hardly get out of whack, unless you really hit it hard there in the center. If it's 8 foot long, it could possibly bend at a little bit of an angle at the joint. 12 foot long, it's a little easier. By the time you get, 20, 30, or longer, now you get more like a true train. It's easy for it to kind of flex a little bit here, flex a little bit there, from pushing a log on or dragging a log off, and it, catching, and it'll pull it out. And it won't necessarily always immediately go back in place. The things are heavy. It might sit where it's at for a good while, and if it ever does sit where it's at for a good while, it might eventually create a little channel in your blocks there, and be even more difficult to get it out of, to get it back in alignment. So I run that wire, make sure all the holes are lined up. Then I come back and I take this nut on both ends, put that nut there, or anything, and what that does, that lifts it up to where before I was just about 1/8 of an inch. Now I can actually put my fingers underneath there and not hit it. So now what I do is I come in and I slip my rails back in. Right, I don't touch it. I take, a maxed out credit card or something, and I put the credit card there, and I just kind of slide it through, making sure that I've got that, at least that credit card's worth of distance off the wire. What that's going to do is it's going to show you places like right here. You can see how far I'm off here, but look right there. See how it's flush up against it? And on down there, I'm a perfect distance again. What's happened is right here, something has hit this, and it's bent the little bitty rail, not the flat part, the top part. These are welded ever so often. So if the weld is, say, there and there, if I hit it right here, I don't know where the welds are, but just say if it's welded here and here, if I hit it here, it'll bend that. And see how that's flexing there? And once you bend it, if you bend it hard enough, grease all over that thing. I got my hands dirty. Once you bend it hard enough, it'll stay. And then as you're rolling down through there, it's going to drag. And but I'll start now, and I'll go back through. I don't rush, and I take my time and put them on there. And then when I get to where I'm going to the next one, I take those and I get it lined out, and I'll have to knock that back right there. I take those vice grips, tap it this way from down there so it's flush, and I clamp it right there. So in other words, that seam, it might not, you know, there might be a gap this way, but this way it'll be together. And then I'll tighten this one, and I'll just slowly move on down, as long as my hands can stand it. Tell you what, you want to know why a darn welder drinks so much beer? You start grabbing that darn all that metal when it's 95 and you're out here middle of the day. You find out real quick why he drinks so much darn beer. But I just take my time going down through there. Oh, and just in case, you see how these are slotted? They're slotted because Norwood realizes that this part right here might scooch over a little bit. The easiest way to fix that might be just to adjust the rail this way a little bit. So, I mean, that gives you some leeway as you're going down through there. So you can still lay those rails here and be true with your wire, and then have some little bit of leeway to bolt it down. It doesn't necessarily have to go slap up against one side or slap up against the other. You can see where mine usually set by how it's stained in one spot and not in the other. But I'll just run them down that wire, keeping just that small little bitty distance all the way down. And then I'll use that track tool, wherever the heck it's at, probably underneath all them darn slabs. I'll use that track tool to do this next side. I will take and put the wire to kind of give me a rough guide. I'll run the wire on this other side too, but the track tool is going to be what's going to give me the final say, and it should match that wire. If you look right there, you can see that wire is off. And then right here, you can see it's hitting. And it might be hard to tell, but right here, it's bent. That's why I put really my oldest ones on the back side here. Because this right here, this one's a whole lot higher than this one is, a whole lot higher. I mean, I'd have to file that down a lot to get it. But right there is where it's bent out. And once I tighten that down just a little bit, I'll tap it back with the hammer. One other thing, as I go along, I'm using that ratchet wrench for 2 or 3 per thing first, rather than that air wrench, because that air wrench, a lot of times when you go to crank it down, it'll actually move that thing one way or the other. But you can see now how I kind of got it. Whoops, hold on a second. It was in my way. And still a little bit there. Watch your ears. There we go. Now see how I'm just a little bit off where before it was hitting it. And that's what I'll do. I'll go down the whole thing. Just try to keep it that much off. And it might take me 2 or 3 runs up and down. Once I get it true, then I'll tighten everything else down, and then I'll go from there. Okay, I took my wire, again stainless steel. This time, because I've got that side over there lined up, and it is really hard sometimes to look down a track, because it different colors, it stains, it's this, it's that, you know. At least it's hard for me. Your eyes might be better than mine. But for some reason, it's easy for me to see that stainless steel wire. And as I go down through there, it's very easy for me to just tap it just a little to make sure I'm the same distance all the way down. It's just, like I said, my eyes probably aren't as good as yours, so I have to use that wire. Now that I've got that side on with only 2 nuts, each one, and I tightened them with the ratchet wrench, not the air wrench, but I tightened them down good. I start here. I put this one on first, using that tool, that track tool. Put this one on first, tighten it, not so tight. Then I move down here and I get this one lined up. And then I tighten that one and then come back here. This one right here, I might have to move back and forth maybe twice or something, because when you tighten this one, you'll kick this one out, tighten out, you know. If you do it, you'll see what I'm talking about. So now I got this one tight. So now take the next piece, and did I say I already did the wire? Yeah, I don't know if I did or not. I tied the wire here, wrapped it around, and pulled it banjo string tight all the way down through there, and verified that the holes are in line. Every single one of them, the holes are in line. Then took the wire out to get it out of my way, because now you're going to be using that track tool. I clamp this together, just like I did over here. Clamp this together, go down there, put the tool across in the exact same spot. In other words, if it's 2 inches off this one, it's going to be 2 inches off of this one. Otherwise, you're going to cock it, and it's going to, you know, I'm sure you know what I mean. If you make an angle out of it, it's going to throw your line off. And then I'll tighten that side and tighten it pretty snug. Then I come back here and tighten this side, and then I will test it with that thing. And then I'll just continue down. I'll take the next one, put there, clamp it, just like here. There's no nut there right now. Just clamp it, just right here. I'll tap it a little bit to get it back snug. And put the bolt in, tighten it. Come here, put the bolt in. Before I loosen these, tighten it, and then check it with the tool. And I'll just keep doing that same progression all the way down. And once I get down there, they should be, I'll tighten them up all. And I'm tightening them up pretty tight now. I really am. I'm tightening them up pretty snug. Then I'll come back and put all the nuts in. And as I go, I'll tighten them up a little bit. And then I'll come and I'll hit them with that air wrench over there. And that should hopefully get it back pretty much. Seemed like there was something else I was going to say, but I can't remember. Anyway, and then, what can I say? Maybe somebody wants some firewood tomorrow and they can come get it. Okay, I got them all back on. I don't have the tail end down there fixed yet. That'll be for tomorrow, but I'll get that squared away. Got them all back on, got them lined up. These rails, if you've ever dealt with dozers, you know, changing out the tracks. It's metal on metal. It's going to wear down. This here, it's metal on metal. It's going to wear down. What I do, I'm not 100% certain this is a good idea, but it's what I do. I go along with this device. This is their tool. And if I get to a spot where there's just no play, like right there, I mean, there is none. But if I go right here, see, there's a bunch. That's because this is mushroom down. Metal on metal. It's mushroom down. It's a little fatter. I'll go along with this and check the whole route. And if I get to one where it's really bad, I'll take that DeWalt down there and the cone grinding attachment. And I just lightly, I'm not grinding a whole bunch, just lightly go down through there and try to get that mushroom part off. And the other thing I'll do is, if you think about this mill, it's 10 years old. Every 2 or 3 years, I'd buy another section. So the original rails have seen way more traffic than the ones I bought the next year, and then the ones that year saw less traffic, and just on and on and on and on, until some of them are 10 years old, and some might be 1 year. What that does is these wear down, just like dozer tracks. When you go along and you hit the new one or newer one, it's gonna hit just like that. Now actually this one isn't so bad. See how these two are the same age, same height. You see how it just went on over? This is high. This is a newer one. It's high. This is a much older one. It's low. So instead of catching, it just dropped down. So I go down through here, keeping in mind those three principles I just said right there. Then I hit this one. Oh, okay. Now we got to do something. What I do is I take that same cone grinder and I very lightly grind that down, just very lightly, so it does not make that like that. Because if you think about it, when you get here with that saw head and you hit that, you've got to lift that whole saw head up over that little right there, a few thousandths of an inch, but it's vertical with a blade in the wood. So it's hard, and that's what was giving me, or is giving me, those dark streaks in that other video. Because I come down through here, I hit this. Well, the minute you hit that, darn, what am I hitting? The log dog or whatever. So I stop, or I slow down, and all it was this. So I will slowly go down through here, grind those down smooth. I'm not taking, I'm not spending a lot of time on it, but I try to get them a little bit better. You see how that one just fell on off? This one must be much older than this one. I'll go down through there and I will find the bad ones, the ones that stall me, like that. It's not so bad because it's on the end of the track. And I will slowly grind them down. And there's something else I was gonna say. Give me a second and I'll think about it. Heck, I don't remember what it was. Something about the track. So this down here, you can see how far I am without a bunk. Doesn't really matter. I want it like this. What I don't want is this thing down here fishtailing, because if you put a long log out here, this thing is going to wobble. And of course it's like this because I dropped that stump on it. But tomorrow I'll get this up here at the top across. I'll get it perfectly supported on the bottom and level. Now it's still, if you look, it's still a little bit twisted because that stuff is hard to bend back right. So it's still a little bit twisted, but that doesn't matter. As long as my rails are right. I mean, I don't even need this. I could pour concrete and put those rails on it and still cut. So the fact that is bent a little bit out doesn't matter. If my rails are straight, the sawmill is going to roll straight. It's going to roll true. It's not going to get one side, get it in front of the other. So, but you could, it's not level there. The reason why it's not level there is because it's just kind of sitting out there. But I'll support that, get all that squared away. And I should be ready for some real work. Or have run out of excuses, I guess would be better to say.